everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on POSHMARK, and in today's video I'm going to talk about some reseller red flags that you should look out for as a buyer or a seller on the platform. These are things that are crucial to be aware of, that you don't want to fall in the trap of falling for. There's so many great tips, so I'm going to just get started, but make sure that you're subscribed because I do reselling videos every single week and I would love to have you stick around for more. Okay, so something I look out for when I'm making a purchase on Poshmark is to look at when the seller was last active. So it's really important to see because a lot of the times people are not actively on Poshmark, which means that they're probably not going to send your package out pretty quickly or maybe even at all. So before you purchase, make sure you look at their last active, and you could do that by going to their profile and it'll tell you last seen, you know, how many hours ago, just now, or a couple days ago, or a couple months ago. And I would say if they weren't active in the last week or so, then maybe hold off on purchasing from them, or at least send them a message through the bundle to ask if they will send out your package. You do not want to purchase from someone who is not active, because if you do, then you have to wait 7 days for that order to get canceled, and then you have to wait 5 to 7 business days for them to even process your return on whatever card you used. So to save yourself from the hassle and disappointment, just check to make sure that the person is actually going to send out if they haven't been active recently. Okay, the next thing to look out for if you are a buyer on the platform is to look out for those poor descriptions. Look out for those descriptions that are lacking measurements, that are lacking detail, that are lacking transparency, and that kind of are not really descriptive in any way, shape, and form. If you can't tell what the material is, what the color is, what the fit is, if the material is stretchy or not, then maybe you shouldn't purchase, because you really don't know what you're going into. You're kind of going into it blind, and it's really hard, especially because you can't return on maybe something not fitting or something not, being something that you like. You really got to make sure that you know what you're buying, and so the best thing to do is look out for really good descriptions, and if they don't have a good description, maybe avoid purchasing from them. The next thing to look out for is sellers that have a very, very slow ship time. So I understand that not everyone ships daily, and so I say anything from about 1 day to 2 days is a fair ship time, but I think anything over that is kind of a red flag, especially because we live in a day and age where you can get things very, very quickly. You could basically get things same day on Amazon or a lot of other stores. So people do not want to wait a long time, especially because it takes a few days for their item to even ship. So if you're going to wait 3 days to send it, and then it's going to take another 3 to 4 days for it to come to them, nobody wants to wait that long to get an order. So I always say if they have a longer ship time than 2 days, then maybe steer away from their closet. I know there are one-off cases, and I know, if you don't have a lot of sales, your ship time could be affected greatly, but I try and keep my average ship time as low as possible. Mine is actually less than a day. I try to get everything out same day or next day if I can't get it out the same day, but I know not everyone can do that. But again, just keep an eye out on those closets, because you don't want to purchase from someone that hasn't that doesn't ship that quickly. Okay, another great thing to look out for that you want to pay attention to when purchasing from a closet that maybe even looks a little new or a little sketchy. A lot of times, those closets that don't have pictures or really good handles can look a little sketchy. You want to look at their love notes and also their solds, because those love notes and solds could tell you a lot. So if they have a bunch of love notes, you could kind of see what people are saying. You could see if people generally like their items. And again, you just go to their closet and then you click on the about them section, and it'll show their love notes and their solds. And you could scroll through their closet to see what prices they're selling things at, because if they're selling things too cheap, it could actually be a red flag. And if they're selling things too high, it's also a red flag. So make sure you pay attention to these kind of things, especially if the seller looks a little sketchy. I briefly touched on this before, but if the title has a lack of a description and it just kind of says dress or shirt or blouse, it's kind of not that specific, and that kind of is a turnoff to buyers because they don't know what they're purchasing. So make sure that those titles are descriptive. Make sure you're really describing what kind of shirt it is. Is it a baby doll style? Is it a tight? Is it ribbed? Is it all these different things that are really helpful to know, you want to be specific on, otherwise people are not going to want to purchase your items. Now, another one kind of bouncing off of the checking their page to see, if you go to their Meet the Posher listing that a lot of people have set up, you can kind of tell, like, if people are commenting on it that they are a scam, then they probably are a scam and you don't want to be shopping from them. But if they are getting a bunch of comments that are really positive and people saying that they love their closet and stuff like that, then they probably are a trusted person to purchase from. Alright, this next one actually makes me laugh a little bit because I've definitely seen it and I've definitely been like, who's gonna purchase from that? But those closets that have those like really silly rules that like you're kind of questioning where they came up with that. I've seen some sellers that, you know, are basically like, don't ask me for measurements, don't ask me for pictures, I won't give you any more information, or, you know, they have like this really strange criteria to follow. And I've even seen some people like post really like odd messages in their bio. So just don't bother with these accounts because they're probably going to lead you to a really bad situation. So it's just not worth it. Those are the accounts that you skip over and avoid. Anyone that has really silly established rules in their closet are probably not worth your time and effort. So this next one is fake or no really good pictures shown. So a lot of people white out the first cover photo of their listings, and I do that myself. I think it kind of draws a little bit more attention to the listing, and I think it gives more searchability to the item. But I see a lot of people that actually white out every single photo in their listings, and I personally don't like this because I don't feel like I'm getting an accurate representation of what the actual item looks like. And so I actually find that when the cover photo has the whited out background and then the rest of the photos are just using a normal background, it really shows the true item and there's no uncertainty that's left. If all of your photos look like stock photos or all of your photos look super highly edited, and even if you're using like those really bright filters on Poshmark, or if you're putting a, you know, weird border on it, like, I just don't think it does anything for the listing photo, and I actually find it to be a turnoff for a lot of buyers on Poshmark. So make sure your photos are real and accurate. Make sure you're not using those stock photos from company websites because that's against Poshmark rules, and also people just don't want to see it because they're not purchasing from that website, they're purchasing from your closet. So have real photos and have a bunch of photos, and that's going to help people want to purchase from you. Okay, this is a silly one and I really didn't think I had to mention it, but it's actually, I've seen it before, when people say more pictures or measurements not available. So I kind of briefly touched on this one earlier, but if you're not going to answer a buyer's potential questions, if you're not going to answer what the measurements are, then somebody's probably not going to want to purchase from you because they really don't know what they're getting into. So I always say if the person is not answering you and they're not giving you a good answer, or they're refusing to answer your questions, whether that be they're just not answering you or they're, you know, just saying they're not going to do that, I would avoid their closet. It's just a recipe for disaster and it's just not something you want to get involved in. The next one is just to look at how much they put into their listings. Are they kind of just like laying the piece and it looks all wrinkled and it's not really shown in good lighting? I've seen like the most bizarre listings where like somebody will hang it on like the stove or like in the shower or like the most bizarre situations. And to me, when I see really weird backgrounds and when I see the piece all wrinkled, it just shows that you really didn't care and you didn't take the time to list it properly. And to me, I don't really want to purchase from that. I just don't think it looks professional and I think it's just not good. So if somebody takes very little care into their listings, then probably avoid their closet. Okay, so that is all the red flags I'm going to talk about in this video. You definitely want to make sure that you're not doing any of these things, whether you are a buyer or a seller. They are things that you want to avoid because they are just things that, you know, nobody wants to purchase from. And if you are a seller as well as a buyer, you should kind of understand both sides because you should really understand like how frustrating it is from the other's point of view. As a seller primarily and someone who also buys, I understand how annoying it is when someone doesn't answer a question or they don't have good listing photos. So it only makes me want to do that more and have those good photos and answer their questions because I know how annoying it is. And I specifically don't shop from closets that don't do a lot, or that do a lot of these things in this video. So I know a lot of people avoid these things too. So let me know down below if there are any other red flags that you look out for as a buyer or a seller on the platform. And definitely make sure that you're subscribed. I do a lot of videos like this every single week, and I'd love to have you stick around for more. And if you want to see a video on some new features that have come out recently on Poshmark, one that just came out not too long ago, you can click right here. And if you want to see another video on reasons why your listings aren't selling and what you can do to make them sell, you can click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.